the formalities. Okay. We always schmooze a little bit before we start recording, but I always regret not recording earlier. So, Eva, yes, we're continuing Shaar Bitachon. We're still on the intro, but we have to record some of this schmooze. Can you please repeat what you just said about Chochmah, Bina, and Da'at, please?
Okay, so in our schmooze, we were talking about the importance of Torah study, and this has been popping up in our lives throughout the week. For me personally, it was during Shabbat, which is amazing because it's the Shabbat right after Shavuot, and I got to the synagogue early without knowing, and I was like, okay, I don't even know what to go and do. I'm going to go and grab a book to connect with Hashem. So I go, I'm looking in the library and I see this book and it's called Channeling the Divine. It's the talk of one of the Chabad Rebbes. I don't know exactly which one, and he did it for his son's bar mitzvah. And so he was talking about the importance of tefillin and Torah study. He was stating how tefillin, what they basically do is that, well, they're called phylacteries, and the men will put them once a day at least and say the Shema over it, and they put it during the daytime, and they don't do it on Shabbat, right? It's not done on Shabbat, I think.
No.
No, it's not done on Shabbat. Yes, and so the men will put this on, and the intent is to tie the brain, because one of them is in the brain and one of them is in the arm, one of the boxes with prayers. And so with the tefillin, they are sorry. So the Rebbe was explaining that with the Torah study, it's equal to wrapping tefillin. Tefillin is technically a bit lesser than Torah study, but he was going into why are they both related. Well, when we're wrapping the tefillin, we're uniting brain and heart, our intellectual capabilities with our heart. And we're channeling divinity as well and bringing it down into action. And that's what's going on when we are doing Torah study as well. We are connecting to our intellect, to our Chokhmah, Bina, and Dad, to Chabad, and bringing it down into reality. And this is what goes on. Like this actually, it's not only in our own brains that this is happening. It's happening in Hashem's quality. We're connecting to Hashem and streaming down Hashem's knowledge, Hashem's wisdom down into our being. Obviously, whatever we're capable of containing, because each person has a different vessel, but it's Hashem's knowledge literally coming right into us and through us. And that's what happens when the men wrap the tefillin as well. They're able to stream that consciousness directly from Hashem.
Okay, so to play kind of devil's advocate here, we're not wrapping tefillin. So how do we get that like direct line of access?
We can get it through Torah study, but I think also through emunah and bitachon itself. Because basically, I think that what guys are doing when they're wrapping these tefillin, they're like, okay, my brain and my heart are connected. But us as women, I think we experience that. We know the power of our hearts, and I think we're more innately connected to that power. And throughout life, we learn how to balance that, and really, that's the power of emunah and bitachon as well. It's knowing the power of being aligned with Hashem and following through with Hashem's will, and really always trusting that everything is for our highest good. And so what the Rebbe was comparing tefillin to Torah study, saying that they're pretty equal. But I think it's because it helps men live Torah in a more embodied way. Women, in a sense, we are already embodying that Torah. We're able to hold life within us and inform life within us. And so we are connected to to this life-giving force in a way that's so real and that's in our own system, that I feel like we don't need something external. It's all within us. Also, something that I think is super interesting is that I heard this, and I think I shared it with you last time. I don't know if it got recorded, but it was about how women like really have this huge role in our tradition to bring bitachon and emunah into the home. Some people think that maybe because we aren't doing X and Y things that men are doing, like, oh, like it means that we're doing less and that we are less, or make these sort of associations. But I think it shows how much more innate these mitzvot are and how we are living Torah, how we become living embodiments of Torah. In fact, I was doing some research on the berberiska, or the henna night dress, and the woman in Morocco, the women in Morocco, they get wrapped in this beautiful felt dress with gold embroidery, and it has a bunch of this dress has a bunch of symbolism. This dress is the woman getting wrapped in Torah, because the woman is that Torah. The woman is so holy that she is those living words, and whatever words we're speaking, like what you were saying that you read in Likutei Moharan, which I would love if you could also explain it on video. We are those letters. We are speaking those words of Torah in our everyday. We're teaching our kids, we're teaching others, and we're bringing that Torah into reality, into actuality, in such a grounded way that we don't need anything external. Even like the women aren't commanded, well, to pray three times per day. The women aren't commanded. It's mainly because like the women sometimes raise kids and different things, but the women aren't commanded to that. And the men need that structure and need that externality, but women, we live it. We are that Torah. We are those letters. We're connected in an intrinsic way.
It's so beautiful. You're like painting this like beautiful like visual for me of like people as letters. There's like I've heard, I don't remember who said it. This rabbi, I think, was like, like there are these people, they don't see the world for like what like the physical cellular manifestation of it is. They see what it looks like according to like its divine manifestation. They see letters. They just look outside and they see letters. I'm like, Eva, is that you? Eva like has letters in her background, different ones all the time. And actually, if you like pay attention to like the shape of a person, it is like the top, like just like a standing person, right? The top is a yud. The body, like with the arms, is a hey. And then you have a vav, right? The torso. And then the legs, hey. And then it's yud k vav k. And then you just like see a bunch of people walking around and you're like literally walking Hashem. And it's mind-blowing. It's beautiful. And it's like you can't unsee it once you see it, but also is like, are your eyes open to it? Are your eyes open to seeing that?
So gorgeous and beautifully put. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled now in crowds. I'm going to be like, whoa, walking pieces of Hashem, because that's really what we all are.
Yeah.
We have each of us a special spark, and we're in this world for a reason, and we're here to elevate this world, elevate ourselves and our surroundings. So that is super impactful. And I'm curious who taught you that about the letters, because I've heard it in different places.
Oh yeah.
But yes, like I've read some books on the Hebrew letters, and how the letters are the DNA of the world.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm going to tell you something really funny. Um, I had a super spiritual week up in Sfat, up in the north of Israel. It's one of the four holy cities. It's aligned with air. It's was one of the most spiritual weeks in my whole life. I think I was living in another existence, but that's kind of what Sfat does to you
That's
sometimes.
literally what Spot does to you. Every time I go, I'm just like, I'm floating. I'm floating somewhere else.
And I had the huge zchut and honor to meet this rabbi, um, who I believe is a huge tzaddik as well, person that's very connected with Hashem. And he told me something very specific about my life and everything, and it was kind of a lot, and I was trying to process through it. And this was during third meal on Shabbat. This is with Rabbi Yoel Torchman. He's also an artist. He is French. His family, they were the rabbis of the Abu Hatzera family, of the Baba Salih's family, while they were in the desert in Morocco. And he is just an incredible individual. And what came out of his mouth really rang with my truth, and I needed to have some time to introspect. And Vic, let me tell you, I was talking with a friend of mine, trying to just like process through everything that I heard, through all the actions that I was going to take based on what I heard. And I was looking at my friend, and behind her were the limestones of Tzfat. They're gorgeous. Whenever I would focus in on her and look at her, in those rocks, I would see letters. I literally saw Hebrew letters emerging from those rocks. And I was like, not on any drug, not on any alcohol, not on anything. I hadn't touched it. I don't touch drugs. Alcohol, Shabbat, a little bit. But I hadn't touched anything. And I was seeing these letters. And when I would shift my attention from the focus on her, I would look elsewhere into the wall, I wouldn't see those letters. And I would try and look for them, and maybe I could find some of them. But when she was speaking and I was fully focused in, that's when I saw those letters popping up. And that's when I said, what she is saying is also a message from Hashem. It's also a message from the universe telling me to really focus in and follow her advice. So that was like divine providence in a level that that I was so blessed to be able to experience and see Hashem's light and see the actual DNA of the world, what builds things up. Well, like I didn't see the full code or anything like that, but just like a little taste, which was also incredible.
Wow, girl. That, I mean, I have so many follow-up questions, maybe for offline. Like, what did she say? Like, what? Um, that's insane. That's insane. Like, I've never experienced that before. I've seen like people's like auras or ethereal lights, like that, like my eyes have already been attuned to, but letters, never seen that. That's so cool. Wow. Spot. Oh my
But
gosh.
but that's also something that I've been tuned in for a long time as an artist and a visual person. That sphere
Right.
of my brain is very developed and very honed in. And I remember when I was learning the alphabet or the alphabet in Hebrew, that's where alphabet comes from, since we're talking about how words have so much power. And when I was learning this alphabet, I started seeing this tree as the letter shin, which I have here in the background. It's kind of cut off, but I started seeing that tree as being that letter. And I was a kid, And I felt like if I told my mom or someone like that tree is first this letter shin and then it's a tree, like they would be like, "Oh, like cute. Like that's awesome." But they wouldn't really fully understand it. And that's what I felt since a young age. So I think it's those special experiences that have shown me how the letter how the world is really made up of these letters. And they're just little taste, and what I've seen and experienced are just little tastes because I really don't know.
Okay, girl, I'm not trying to take you on another tangent here, but have you followed up on your theory and like experience of the shin and the tree?
The shin in the tree. I was back in Venezuela and I drove past that tree or past the area, but I don't think I caught that tree. But I really felt that it was
I know,
first that letter.
have you like ever like looked into that, like the correlation or the relationship between the letter shin and a tree?
I haven't really looked in depth, and now I am curious because the shin is more tied. Well, I think it can have to do with change because the shin is tied to the word shinui, which means change. So it could have to do something with that because the trees change in the seasons, but I'm not sure. I need to look deeper into it.
I'm excited to see where this goes because we might be unlocking some really cool powers from you. Okay. Okay, but let's bring us back on track. Shaar Bitachon introduction. Here we go. By the way, like, I'm finding a lot of really cool things to like practically on the ground refine our learning, right? Because I think what the introduction does, and even like the first few chapters, is like at a very high level. It's kind of like giving you this sales pitch of like the benefits of bitachon and like kind of outlining like who's a person that has bitachon versus who doesn't, like, right? But then like how to practically utilize it day to day, like what that looks like, has been interesting for me to like connect the dots because we call it bitachon and the rest of the world calls it affirmations. The
Wow.
rest of the world calls it manifestation. And I follow this one girl on YouTube. She does like robotic affirmations. And her whole theory is that you don't need an emotion tied to your affirmation for it to come true, for you to manifest it into your reality. Like it it's not going to hurt, like it might even help, but it's not a must have, it's a nice to have. So like her whole thing is like you have to rewire your brain. And like there are some affirmations you only have to say a few times, and like it's because of like where you're at, right? Like you believe what you're saying, so like it can happen to you or happen for you more easily, right? Like versus when you don't believe what you're saying, you have to repeat it so many times, like almost robotically, in order to believe it. And that's the practice of bitachon, is like, no, it doesn't matter what fear you're seeing, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. Keep affirming that God's got you and that this is working out for your highest good, and then it will. But if you give up and you give power to your fear and you give power to the worry, then yeah, that's what's going to work out for you, because you're not giving it a real chance. You're not giving God a real chance to show up for you. But we said it before, like God meets you where you're at, right? So like if you're going to be hard on yourself and you're going to be like, no, it's not working out, it's not working out, God's going to be like, all right, you don't want it to work out, clearly. Because the work is to persist. The work is to persist no matter what. Like no matter what is in your way, You see it's not working out on the outside, doesn't matter. This is where the work like needs you to double down. Like this is where your affirmations literally need to be robotic. It's like, okay, fine. Like I have nothing confirming yet what I'm manifesting, what I'm praying for, what I'm asking Hashem to create for me. But it's like, no, I know that I'm a piece of God. I know I'm a creator. I know my words are so powerful. I'm going to keep saying it and keep saying it until it's true.
That is so incredible. And I love what you're saying about the power of consistency as well, and really striving and fully embodying this belief. Because we're talking about living Torah, and this is what emunah and bitachon is. And that's no doubt why Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who pushed this book onto people, he said, you will see miracles, because it's a whole rewiring of the brain. We're talking about tefillin and Torah study, and how we are literally connecting to Hashem's intellect and downloading that. When we're truly and fully believing in something, we are bringing it down into reality. And as you're saying, it's like those affirmations, it's bitachon, and the world is tapping into a deep truth about this universe, about Hashem, and about our true power to connect deeply and change our realities and change the world around us, hopefully for the good of the most people. And you were saying something I find super interesting. It's here in page 11, and it's talking about how in the Talmud it says Ein Mazal Le Israel, and that like astrology does like we are beyond astrology, how the stars aren't completely set, and how we can rewrite the stars as Abraham and Sarah did. And it says that the Maggid of Mezrich reads it a bit differently. Instead of saying Ein Mazal Le Israel, it says Ayin Mazal Le Israel. And so here it's saying that the source of all divine energy that creates and sustains the world, because it's like a constant act of creation that's happening, is the divine attribute of Chokhmah that is known as Ayin. And this is like our fortune. And the Ayin, Chokhmah, is a level of saying, like, I am completely absorbed within Hashem's reality. Interestingly, talking about Hebrew letters and everything, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, they had skin, but they had a different type of skin. And this is said, I believe, in the introduction to the anatomy of the soul by Rabbi Nachman, and it was translated by Rabbi Abraham Sutton. And I'm not sure which one of them points out, but one of them points out that our skin used to be made out of or with an aleph, light with an aleph. That's spelled aleph, vav, resh. But then after eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the human skin changed from or, pure light, to or with an ayin, vav, resh. And so like it, like, and that skin, that's skin in Hebrew. So ayin is like a level. Sorry, I'm going to try and because it's many things depending on what, but it's really interesting because this ayin obscured Hashem's light, which was shining through us. But through this level of ayin, we could also reach the highest point within Hashem and in connection to ourselves. And so we reclaim it through finding it and through saying, I'm not completely in control. And Hashem has got me. And really interestingly, I don't know if this is sourced somewhere, but it's something that I think about. Our central line and phrase for us Jewish people is Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. One, of course, it doesn't mean like, oh, like there's only one God, but Hashem is like one with all reality, and that's that level of the Ayin, that level of Chokhmah. But also something that I pay attention to that I'm not sure if it's written anywhere, but I think of Shem'ah. Shem'ah means hear, hearing, and hearing, it requires us to be silent, to be actively passive, like really actively there with ears all open, but really being aware. And actually, this weekend, it was so interesting because there was Rabbi Chayamar, and he was saying that Shema is at the level, I'm not sure if it was of Chokhmah or Keter, but a very high and elevated level. And so that's so interesting how it relates to this silence as well from Shema. But yes, Shem'ah. I think of Shem, the Shin Mem. Oh, that's like a, is that a bad force or no? No, it's not. Like Shin Mem, Shem, and then the Ayin, Shem, Ah. So I am Shem, like I have a name. Shem is name. And then there is this Ayin, like this level of like not knowing. And so it's this mix of like, it's this mix of like full self and also like knowing that I don't know everything, that I have a name and I have, to a certain extent, a destiny that I can work and change, but all up to Hashem, and I need to rely fully on Hashem. And so there's that level of having full groundedness in who I am, full groundedness in this reality while being rooted in a higher reality, that reality of the Ayin, of not knowing. So fully knowing and not knowing. Shem'ah. Curious about what you think about that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Even like we call Hashem Hashem, the name. Right? Like you don't think about that. Like I have like such a personal connection with Hashem where like I call Hashem Hashem, right? But I remember in college I took this like religion course just like as like one of my, whatever. Thank you. Like social electives. And the first religion that we covered was Judaism, like the OG, like monotheistic religions. And my teacher passed around a Tanakh and was like, everyone take a look, like Jewish people, they don't actually pronounce God's name. They call God the name, Hashem. And I was like, wait, what? Because to me, it's I didn't feel like I was calling God, like I'm calling God the name. That's like God's name is Hashem. And it broke my brain for a second, but then I had to like sit back and think about like the kind of honor that we're giving God by saying like, I'm calling you the name, right? And in the Shema, saying Shem-ah, right? But what are we saying in the Shema? It's not just like Hashem is our God. Hashem is one. Hashem is everything. You are Hashem. I am Hashem. This table is Hashem. That's Hashem. The tree is Hashem. Everything is Hashem. We're all inside of Hashem, and Hashem is inside all of us, right? It's all one thing. It's all one energy, one being. You're just experiencing it all differently. But then what do we say? we say, you need to remember these words with all your heart, with all your soul, when you get up, when you go to sleep, when you sit down, when you talk to your kids, when you're on the road, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, remember that everything is one. Everything is Hashem.
That's the pinnacle of emunah, bitachon.
It's in the name, and then it's in the Shema. And okay, we could go like on a tangent about this forever, actually. But like I love like these like beautiful snippets that we're able to extract from our learning, and like to see like this, I think this is like just strengthening our bitachon. Is like, this is what we need. These are like part of the like building blocks, is like what's holding, you're like, we keep saying it's like an exercise, right? What is exercise for? It's to build a muscle. What does muscle do? It strengthens your bones too, right? Like I have scoliosis. I remember when I was a kid, I was like 14, 15 years old. I was doing weightlifting at the gym because I was trying to build my muscles to hold my bones in place, my spine in place. And so this is what we're doing, right? Like we're flexing our muscles with bitachon. Why? To keep our foundation in place, right? Like, okay, Hashem is one. Yes. We're all Hashem. Yes. This is the found. But we have to flex this bitachon muscle of like, got to repeat that to yourself every single day, at every moment, so you do not let the fear win. And an affirmation, by the way, that I wanted to like mention, like, okay, like we keep talking about how to practically, an affirmation I've been saying every morning when I get up to the morning blessing, about like Hashem giving you strength. I say, I am strong. I fear nothing. Hashem's got me. And I repeat that over and over again until it makes me want to jump. And I say, like, I am strong. I fear nothing. Hashem's got me. I am strong. I fear nothing. Hashem's got me. I'm like practicing that over and over and over again. And you know what? Yeah, it might take a little bit to like live that way, to live fearlessly. And I do notice in moments that like other people are experiencing fear or whatever, I'm just like, what are you scared of? Hashem's got us. Like, what's actually going to happen to us? People are like, how can you say that? I'm freaking out. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm going to let you freak out. Like, I'm so sorry. I could be like more attentive to people's feelings, but just like where I was at that moment was like, nothing is going to happen to me. Everything is fine. I'm strong and Hashem's got me and I have nothing to fear. And it's amazing, like how like that can actually like manifest in your reality of like, it's your reaction. It's your reaction. Life is going to happen. How are you going to react to it? And that's what bitachon is training us in, is how to react to life in a way that aligns with you knowing that you don't have anything to fear, that Hashem's actually got you, right? Like, what are you really going to trust in? Sukkot. Why do we live in a sukkah that has no roof? For what? What is the point of that? It's to tell you that your ceiling in your regular house is an illusion. It's not the ceiling that keeps you safe. It's Hashem that keeps you safe. Just giving you this really pretty ceiling to stare at to make you think that it's that, because it's going to give you this like physical sense of calm. But Sukkot is that reminder, right? Because it's like in the Chag energy, right? The high holidays, we call them, right? To say that like, no, you're giving it to God. God is taking care of you. not all of these illusions.
And I think that's so potent. In fact, I might have mentioned this previously, but so crazy when on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Hagadol, when the great priest would go into the Holy of Holies, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It was only allowed once a year. It was only for a very few minutes. He would ask something along the lines of like having good weather. That was point one, and also not having to rely on our neighbors or on someone else. And I was at this very specific place, and different people were analyzing it from a very intellectual perspective, which definitely, like, there's 70 faces to the Torah, and it has a place. But as we were saying, Emunah Bitachon is fully aligning mind and heart. And in that moment, I heard that. I was like, what are those interpretations? That's not what the Torah is saying, because they were saying some things that could could be nice and could be true. I was like, no, this is us telling Hashem, we trust you, because the agricultural cycle is all based on Hashem, on the rain, on the sun, on the right temperatures, on the right conditions for everything. And who arranges that? It's Hashem. So we're saying, Hashem, please take care of us. We trust that God willing, you're going to take care of us. And I don't want to go and rely on the person who helps work on my farm or on this other person. See, you were also going to be working on a farm, and God willing, soon you will be able to go and work on a farm, but you got a bit injured. And so Hashem runs the world. We can't we shouldn't have to rely on something else that's not Hashem, on our neighbor or whatever. Of course, we always have to trust and build and work and trust with people, but the ultimate trust that we can have is in Hashem. And so that Kohen Hagadol, in those few minutes, he's saying, Hashem, I want to trust you completely. We will trust you completely. You are taking care of the weather. You are taking care of all of the conditions in our field. And I don't want to have to trust anything or anyone else. That's not you. But as you're saying, Hashem also is manifested within all of us. We are Hashem's name. Well, you were saying it previously. The Yud in our head, the Hey in our arms, the Vav in our torso, and the Hey in our legs.
This is a beautiful transition into what we're reading, straight from the text, where it says that a person who does not place her trust in God is automatically placing her trust in an entity other than God. Right? Everyone trusts something. Everyone's relying on something or someone. You can't say that you're not, because then you wouldn't be alive. You're either relying on an institution, you're relying on a government, you're relying on a friend, you're relying on yourself, or you're relying on God. But the next thing it says is that you can't have it both ways. Just as the broken cistern does not hold water, you're eventually going to lose the blessings that you're receiving from the people that you're relying on, because you can't rely on them forever. Right? You can't rely on yourself forever, because if you could, you'd be God. What, you don't disappoint yourself? We're not perfect. We can't do it. We just can't. And God doesn't want us to do it by ourselves. That's why we have this opportunity for a relationship with God.
And so interestingly here, it says that God is likened to the source of the living water. It's Hashem's blessing is coming down directly from the source, like a river or a stream, and it's not subject to any interruption. But but relying on someone or on something else, on ourselves, on the government, on something else, is like having a broken cistern, because it's not coming from its source. The water is not in that cistern, got placed in there, and it can't be contained. And so you're relying on something that's not from the source in itself. And something really interesting is that when we're saying a blessing, a bracha, we're saying Baruch Ata Hashem. And it's usually translated as blessed are you Hashem, or blessed are you God. But really, bracha, the word is related to bricha, which is a pool of water. So it's saying, source of all are you Hashem. Each time when I'm picking up this water bottle and I'm about to go and drink it, I affirm, I make an affirmation, source of all are you Hashem. And I remember that everything comes from that source. When I'm about to eat, when I put a perfume on, that's living with intention, that's living with affirmation. And sometimes it becomes so automatic that we don't even realize it. And so we need to like look in more deeply into the words and constantly be in the study of Emunah Bitachon to realize that, wow, yes, Hashem does have us. And Hashem is the source of all. And I'm connected to that source of all. And I'm speaking to that source of all. I've got a relationship to that source of all. And not to a faulty, broken cistern. I'm right at the source.
And why does that happen? Why is it easy to like kind of go into the automatic with the brachot and everything, right? Like, why is it kind of like easy to like lose the kavanah and the intention? Because we're in a rush. We're in like, okay, like I know I have to say it. Like, I'm so guilty of this. Of like, okay, like I know I have to say the bracha because like, yeah, I'm affirming that it's from God. Yeah. And then I'm going to eat and then I'm going to go do the work that needs to, that like I need to do to make money and meet the people and this and that. And it's like missing the point. We're missing the point. We are still falling trap to the illusions that we need to go and do so much. You know what Michael Safdie like always affirms in his messages? He's like, buddy, you don't need to be doing anything. He's like, I don't care what other people say about ishtadlut. He's like, you got to do the bare minimum to create a kli. Okay. If you just have a job, if you have a bank account, you have a kli. That's what he says. And it's like, bro, can you really say something like that? And he's like, yeah, what are you doing with your time? Are you sitting and studying Torah? Are you doing God's work? Are you doing what Hashem literally asked you to do? Because I'll tell you, on the days that I have like a full work schedule, I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much work to do. And I create all of these tasks for myself, right? Nobody's telling me to do them. I'm my own boss. I create all my own tasks. I get so exhausted and I'm just like, oh yeah, I still have to pray. I still have to do this and this and this. Versus the days that I'm like, no, today is the day that I'm talking to Hashem before I talk to anybody else. Those are the days that things just like fall into place so easily, so quickly. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. It's like, yeah, that's the point.
I was speaking to someone who didn't understand quite what I was doing or where I was at. I was like, no, it's not like I have to go and do this way or whatever. No, I've got this point of connections. I get to do this thing. And it's really about that because like when I'm saying a bracha, I get to go and say that blessing. I get to connect to the source of all and really elevate my own consciousness to go and realize that. But we just have to be awake enough to feel that, to really live in it. And it could be hard on a day to have the full kavanah, to have the full intention, especially when it gets busy. but that's why those things are there, and that's why we're supposed to say a bracha to realize and to have that connection. And speaking with this person, it really made me internalize, no, I don't have to go and say a bracha on this. It's a huge privilege. It's a huge point of connection. What? I'm so lucky. I'm so selfish. I'm like the luckiest in the world to have this relationship. And so it came to further affirm what I'm doing, why I'm doing it.
Yeah. I want to challenge like even more that like, yeah, we say, mm, like I want to say something with kavanah, right? But I don't always have time, right? Or I have like a busy schedule, right? I have other things to do, but like when I get a chance, I'll do it, right? It's like, and I'm guilty of it, right? Like I know that like even now I'm thinking like about how many opportunities I have throughout the day to like say a prayer with more kavana, and I don't. And it's because I'm like, well, I have somewhere to go. And it's like, how different would your day look if you focus more on your relationship with Hashem than whatever else you had planned that day? Right? Like, and how would Hashem change your day for the better if like you tapped into him, which is really tapping back into yourself. And I think about that often of like, wow, like what kind of day did I have? And not in a criticizing way, not in like oh, let me put myself down now, but more in a reflective way of like, how do I want to grow from this and learn from this and do this differently? You know? And I think, just give me 1 second. I think how we'll close is right before misguided trust on page 7. We talk about how a person, it says in Jeremiah, blessed is the man who relies on the Lord, and the Lord will be his support. Right? You rely on Hashem, Hashem will support you. Like, example, I'm reading my morning brachot right before I have to run out to a meeting. And I'm like, I can't miss the bus to get to my meeting. Right? So it's like, here's scenario 1. I check the bus schedule and I plan my tefillah around, okay, the bus is coming in 17 minutes. So I'll like daven for 12 minutes, then I'll have 5 minutes to run to the bus. Okay. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, I show up, I talk to God, and whenever I'm done with my conversation with God, that's when I'll go to the bus. And you know what? It happens to be that every time the bus is going to be there right when I finish talking to God. And I didn't even have to check before. Why? Because I'm relying on Hashem, and Hashem has become someone reliable, or not become. Hashem has always been reliable. I'm just now tapping into that power, tapping into that energy.
You're truly like affirming it and fully believing it, and so you're bringing out that reality. Like in essence, this whole world is light, and this whole world is Hebrew letters being arranged, and we can't often go and tap into that. But when we're affirming and we like, it starts coming up. Like for instance, when I start learning something in Torah, I start seeing that teaching everywhere, and everything is connected, and you start to see all of those synchronicities. And it's amazing because you were tapped into that reality. So when we're tapping into Emunah Bitachon and into trusting in Hashem, we're really like living that reality and living Torah in the deepest, most meaningful, and way and with the most intention. Because Torah life is a life of intention. And in the manifestation world, this or that, we're setting an intention or whatever. We have like a whole lifestyle that's centered around this. Whoa. It's crazy.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Thank God. Thank God. Okay. I think we're going to close here and we'll continue next week with misguided trusts. And yalla, this is a really good study we've got going, I think.
I'm loving it.
Thank you so much, Eva. And
Love
to anyone
you.
who's tuning in to our studies here. And have a great week. Yes.
Great book. Have an amazing week.
Mwah.